Hello and welcome to the show. The video is a little bit out of order, but never mind. Today we are going to be throwing some more cars down the mountain. We're going to be using the unique character vehicles from the single player of GTA 5. Now, a few people were suggesting I should use the beach bum vehicles from the DLC pack. I didn't realise until after filming all of these that they were actually available in single player. I do this in single player so I can quick save at the top of the mountain. Makes it a hell of a lot easier for me resetting if I make a mistake or when I make a mistake. I didn't realise the buggy and so on were in the single player until after I'd gone through all of this. So they will be in next week. I'm doing a terrible burnout in Franklin's Buffalo. Yeah, so we're going to use the 4 unique character vehicles. So Franklin's got his Buffalo, Michael has his tailgater, Trevor has the truck, I've forgotten the name of the truck, and we're also going to use Franklin's bike as well, just to make things really extra difficult. Now, of course, this Buffalo is based on a Dodge Charger, one of the modern Dodge Chargers, I believe. Shouldn't really be an off-road car, and sure enough, on my first attempt, I don't actually fall off the cliff, but I smack it into a rock, and that's pretty much ruined that time. Despite not being designed to be an off-road vehicle, it's really not that bad. Of course, if you did this with a realistically modelled sort of suspension, it would all be shot to hell. But aside from that, yeah, it really wasn't too bad. I may have got a little bit carried away. It's very, very easy to do with these cars. Just try to carry a little bit too much speed into a corner, and then you end up in trouble. With all these cars that aren't designed to go off-road, you can have a few issues landing jumps. In that case, I just took the entire jump sideways, which wasn't particularly helpful, and then we go tumbling. And all the way down there, I managed to kind of right it, but no, it's still flipping. I am amazed this vehicle did not blow up. I've had many a vehicle fall off the mountain. Sometimes they survive, but more often than not they'll blow up, because I think that, I'm fairly sure at least, that hit the back of the car pretty hard. It's if it hits the back of the car, lands on the mountain, that's what causes them to explode. Don't know why, but it does. And I have no idea how the Buffalo survived that. Again, I got to jump a little bit wrong, and now I'm all out of shape and gone into a rock and parked. That's one of my favourite, I think, fails that I've done on here. It just very sort of slowly and sensibly ended up on its roof. However, it didn't take very long to get a run that I was happy with for this Buffalo. Yeah, okay, it's not designed for off-road. It is very, very low to the ground, so the way it sort of lands from the jumps, it can be a small problem. You know, it can throw you off. I don't know how I survived that. I thought for sure I was going down the mountain when it did that. But yeah, when you land from the jumps, it can sort of react a bit negatively, shall we say. I was being a little bit careful here as well. As you see, I can get very sideways. You can actually spin cars out just by taking that a bit too much. I carried too much speed over the crest, really. Somehow I got it stopped. I'm still not sure how I got it stopped and turned there. This was, I'd say it was a little bit of a lucky run. I managed to grind the under tray. That wouldn't have been particularly nice. Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of luck in this run. This first couple of jumps were a little bit lucky through there. I got it right this time. I didn't clip the inside wall. Managed to take a fair bit of speed through there as well, almost on 2 wheels. Just brushed the, well, I say brushed the wall, put the front of the car up in the air. I didn't actually hit it particularly hard, and that is the first time I've ever seen a hiker actually get out of the way of a car. Like, they see it coming, they react and they move. It's the first time I've ever seen them get away with it. Normally they just stand there. They may react the millisecond before you eat them with your car, but that one actually dived out of the way successfully. I was really impressed. And through the final section, got to be careful with this final corner here. There's some nasty bumps over there that have caught me out a number of times with different cars, but there we go. The Buffalo is across the line, and yeah, it really didn't take, I think that was 5th or 6th attempt going down the mountain. I got a really good run. With all of these, I do the first good run. I get the time from the first good run with the car. I could keep going and going and going, and I get faster and faster times. But you know, I don't have all day to do, and this does take quite a long time to to do successfully. Up next, we have Trevors Truck, and I still can't remember the blooming name for it. I researched this when I wrote the leaderboards at the end, and I forgot what it is. Never mind. Some hikers are being very dumb. They walk up to the front of my car, so I'm trying to get them out of the way. And then they decide, so rather than move to the side, to run back down the mountain. So I do a very Trevor-like thing and promptly run them over. Well, oh, the hiker AI is hilarious. On the whole, the sort of the general AI on this, I mean, it tries its best, but of course it's such a big game, it's very hard for it to be perfect. It is kind of amusing. And on my first attempt, I got so far in the air that my actual steering was causing the car to tip in the air, and that's what screwed me over. But yeah, that run was finished when I managed to park it facing the wrong way. I have a few issues down this section. This time I managed to get the truck stopped and then managed to mess up on the hairpin. It's a tricky corner, the hairpin, as I just try to get a little bit too much speed, a little bit too much power on the exit, and off we go down the mountain. Yeah, the hairpin is a surprisingly tricky corner. Or maybe it's just me being a fool. I'm not sure which, but yeah, it's quite a tricky corner, that one. I got away just about with running over those rocks. I love how the hikers here just pay no attention to the flipping pickup truck that just crashed in front of them and fell down the mountain. Look, they don't even go to look over the edge to see if I'm alright. They do just carry on their own merry way. They may have freaked out and run the other way. That's also entirely possible. You never quite know what's going to happen. This time, look at that. I made the hairpin without falling off the cliff. That's always nice. Nice to see. I was trying to sort of take this route, but you got to be careful with the landing of that jump. If you get it wrong, you do this, and then it's the whatever truck's turn to have a roll down the side of the mountain. I'm surprised that didn't blow up. That landed pretty well. I think the roll bar actually saved it, because rather than landing on the back, it landed on the top of the roll bar. So I think that might have been what stopped this vehicle from exploding. Anyway, again, it didn't take particularly long to get the pickup to do a very good run. I've got to a level 100 driving with Trevor. There we go. Thank you for telling me. I get away with running a little bit wide and clipping the fence. But this is the Audi vehicle we have here that is designed to be off-road. I'm not sure if it's four-wheel drive. I presume it probably is. I forgot to check all of these. It's been a manic couple of days. So it should be fairly good. I mean, it's got decent ground clearance, so it's not smacking on the floor every time you go over a bump. It's not the fastest here, sorry. It's rather slow. Acceleration is okay. It's certainly not as fast as Franklin's car or in fact any of these vehicles. However, it is designed to go off-road. I don't have as many problems over the bump, although I do run a little bit wide. Just as I say that, I end up running a little bit wide through there. Coyotes are getting in the way. Around these next few corners, fairly straightforward this next bit. Over this jump, you can get a bit awkward on the landing. That landed pretty much perfectly for the pickup truck. Again, there's another jump down here that very rarely has any issues, despite being a massive jump. When you drive up the mountain from this direction, yeah, these jumps are huge that I'm taking in these cars, and they don't look that big from this sort of viewpoint. Carefully through the final section, around the final corner, run a little bit wide, but it doesn't really matter, and then get a very good final corner, and then there we are. The truck has made it across the line in a rather quick time. It's fairly uneventful run. Again, clipped one wall a little bit, ran a bit wide over a jump, but you know, not too bad. Up next we have got Michael's Tailgater. I really do quite like this car. It's based on various different Audis, I believe. Now I was going to say that this was only modified visually, however I've just remembered that at some point in the story Jimmy takes your car, and I'm not sure if he does any engine upgrades. I know he changes the look of it and changes the exhausts. I don't know if there are any engine upgrades, so it might be slightly modified. I'm not entirely sure. The rest of the modifications are all the things that I put on are purely visual. I'm just making a bit of a light show again at the back. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will be able to tell me if Jimmy modifies the engine to the car. If it is, there's only going to be a small sort of modification, so it shouldn't affect the time too much. But anyway, it's a unique vehicle, so it doesn't really count in that sense. Now, as I said, this is based on an Audi, and I'm not entirely sure if this thing is four-wheel drive either, but it's very, very similar to the Buffalo. As I don't know how I survived that. That was incredibly lucky with it sort of sticking out over the edge. I don't think I've ever gone quite that far off the track and managed to save it before. But yeah, it's very, very similar to the Buffalo. It's a similar sort of length of vehicle. I think it's a little bit narrower, might be a little bit faster. It's very hard to tell between the two of them. Neither of them are built to go sort of off-road, as I get, ooh, there's a wheel over the edge of the cliff. But yeah, neither are built to go off-road, so they handle fairly similarly. And again, I do exactly the same thing I did with the Buffalo, tried to cut it a little bit too much. This time, rather than going soaring off down the cliff, I just managed to spin it. But yeah, it's a very, very easy car to drive down here. I think it's a little bit slower, I think, overall than the Buffalo, which means it actually is better on the brakes. Like, you don't have to be on the brakes quite so much. As I managed to blooming spin the thing over the jumps. You've got to be careful with some of these bumps, not just sort of being uncontrollable. If you hit them wrong, it can spin your car around. Next run, I landed very awkwardly from that jump. Managed to sort of recover it, and here is an example of it. I got one corner wrong at the top of this section, and it doesn't affect me until about down here. It's if you just run wide in one place, you might not have an issue there. You might be able to save it there, but further down the line, it's really going to screw you over, and the tailgater falls off down the mountain. But it didn't take long. Again, I think this was even quicker than the Buffalo to get a good run with this car. And as I said, because they drive very, very similarly, it wasn't sort of incident free. Again, I'm trying to cut that jump, trying to make the most, or sort of make the best time I can. It's always risky when you do that if you get things a little bit wrong. Again, I do smack my car, this time on a rock that actually is quite helpful. It sort of spun the back of the car around the correct way. It's sliding everywhere as we go into the first hairpin, and very nicely done in the second hairpin. It's so easy to try and put the power on too early through there, and you end up sort of putting a wheel over the cliff. And if you're unlucky, you'll go soaring down the mountainside through here. Again, didn't get a particularly good landing, and I managed to use the rocks to turn the back of my car. Not intentional. I wish I was good enough to have planned all of that, because you could probably take more speed if you could do that intentionally. That hiker there didn't see the bright chrome and orange wheeled car coming towards them. And then it's just the final jump to go. Again, no problems on the landing down here. I do get on two wheels. Didn't quite want to do that. Puts me a bit out of shape down here, so I'm sort of running along the cliff face almost. I don't know how I got it stopped and turned for this second to last corner. I thought that was a goner, the way it was jumping over the bumps. But there it is. It is got across the line, and in relatively good condition as well. When you scratch this car, because it's got chrome paint or whatever, it really does show up. But I know, on the most part, despite the fact I splattered a hiker, there is no sign of damage to the front, and only a sort of a smashed taillight and smashed rear window from where I smacked it into a rock. But yeah, the tailgater, a very easy car really to drive down there. That's probably because I've spent a few times with the Buffalo as well, and really they are very similar. And we move on to the final vehicle. This one wasn't fun. It is Franklin's bike. Now, if anybody who has driven bikes on GTA, I think they've turned the grip up to like 150%. These things have stupid grip. When you're driving on the roads, you can turn sort of silly corners and weave through traffic at silly speeds, and it's absolutely fine. The brakes are also pretty damn good on them. However, when you go off-road, they do something a little bit weird. Providing you have got all of the wheels on the ground, you won't have a problem. The minute you go in the air, when you land, you are never going to get it stopped again. I'm not quite sure what goes on, but like when you've actually got everything connected to the ground, it will be very fast. All through here, it's incredibly fast. You can probably brake later and turn more for that corner than any other vehicle. I get things a little bit wrong through there and take a massive shortcut that I hadn't intended on. So this time is now like completely void, because that was a big shortcut. However, I was going to carry on, you know, just to kind of get an idea for the rest of the track. It's nothing worse than just practicing the first section, and then you finally get past it only to find you mess up further down. So I thought, well, I'll carry on. I'll keep going and see what the bike can do, regardless of the fact that, yeah, this time is going to have to be sacrificed. I may have bounced it off a wall a little bit, but things were looking good until I ran wide there, and then I encountered sort of problems. I got so lucky in saving that. I managed to get the bike turned in midair, so I landed sideways, and then it all goes a little bit scary down here. As the minute the bike's in the air, once it lands, I cannot stop it. And then, of course, you have the other problem with a bike. When you crash it, you go flying off. You can't go flying off a car. Well, maybe, I don't know, can you still fly out the front of the cars in GTA? I know you could in 4. Can you in 5? I don't know, but you can fall off a bike a lot easier than you fall out of a car, that's for sure. So yeah, the problem with the bike is the minute you leave the ground, once you land on the ground again, you just cannot stop it. I may have got a little bit greedy. I've said many times I shouldn't use that rock, and it didn't work, and now we're going to have a very big crash. It's going to hurt. Yeah, sure enough. Not much you can do about that one. I don't know how I got between the two trees as well. But yeah, once you're in the air, or sorry, once you land after being in the air, you just can't get it stopped. and I'm not entirely sure why. Again, down there, I was on the brakes and it just wouldn't quite stop. It's going to hurt again, isn't it? Yep, there we go. And off goes Franklin's body. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what causes it. I mean, yes, it's only got 2 wheels, it's only got 2 brakes, so maybe when it lands it doesn't have the braking force of a car, possibly? I don't know, it's tricky. So again, like down here, the minute I've landed it's just not stopping, whereas it stops fairly well elsewhere. Also, sort of by this point I got fed up of falling down, dying and having to load the hospital and then loading the game again, so I sort of quit or stopped the recording and loaded the game before I actually died. Again, here I'm carrying too much speed. I tried to save it, couldn't. However, I'm still not entirely sure how I managed to run all the way around there. It was still going, and we're still on the course. I'm madly on the brakes trying to slow it down, and I found myself not quite where I wanted to be. I thought I'd slowed down enough, but of course, once I got in the air, there's no stopping the bike, and we're going to go off into the forest and try and get it slowed down. Now, I have managed to get it turned, and I can get it back up the hill and cross the line, so I had a time in case something happened. But it wasn't the most spectacular time, so I was going to carry on and give it a go. But yeah, this bike is really, really hard to drive downhill, and the Sanchez is even worse. I have had a go with the Sanchez at one point. Sanchez is terrible trying to drive down here because it's so twitchy. Again, we're going down this sort of final section. I got a wheel in the air, and now it won't stop. It just doesn't stop. I swear, the minute it sort of starts getting airborne, it picks up speed when the minute you land, and you just can't get it turned. Or, sorry, you can't get it stopped and then turned, and then you go flying off like that. And I've managed to find all my way over here by an outlet pipe. Not the nicest of places, but yeah, that wasn't huge fun. Of course, the other issue with the bikes is that when things do go wrong, you can't kind of get away with scraping off a rock like you can with a car. So I go flying yet again. I didn't fall off the bike too many times, as Franklin's caused a sort of a bit of a rock slide. Yeah, I didn't fall off the bike too many times. It's just an annoyance. Sometimes there were incidences where you would have got away with them in a car, and you won't get away with them in this. Again, got a little bit too wide, and there's a rock there, and that was a miserable one. Yeah, that might not quite have gone to plan. The bike is by far the longest one it's taken. Even it's been longer than the tank, as a cougar manages to screw me over and I fall off the mountain. I saved it amazingly. I saved it again. Then went over a jump, and then that didn't work. We've gone off to visit the scenery again, and now I can't get it stopped. Yeah, the bike took by far the longest for any vehicle I've had on here to actually get a run. I mean, the tank was pretty terrible, but yeah, this thing with the way the brakes are on it is so blooming hard to drive. And again, we've got too much speed. I couldn't get it stopped. This way though, I was fairly impressed with the ability to kind of, I don't know, defy physics and somehow stay up there. And I sort of started noticing that the thing was falling over. I wondered what would happen if I left it. And, well, I have a guess. Yeah. Sure enough, after a few seconds, Franklin gives up trying to stand up, and you go off down the mountain. I stopped it again before I died, because I didn't want the loading screens. I'm so bored of GTA loading screens when I'm doing this. Again, clip the wall, and then we can't stop it. We're going off to see the scenery again. I managed to do a nice 360 spin, and this time it's kind of got stopped. But yeah, you just can't get in the air with this thing. It makes it a real pain. I was persistent, and after a long time, I don't know the actual length of time, but it was quite a blooming while before I got this thing down. I did complete a run that I was happy with. I think a bike, if this was a flat sort of run, a flat course, the bike would walk it. It's got so much grip. I mean, admittedly, the likes of the supercars may have a little bit more top speed, but these bikes can carry so much speed through these corners. However, I have to be so cautious. If I actually want to get a complete run down here that doesn't rely solely on luck, I have to be very cautious with some of the corners. I would like to attack them more, and you could carry more speed through some of these. However, if you carry more speed through them, you're going to end up slightly out of position for the next one, and you cannot risk running over a bump. As you see, I'm taking all the alternate routes on this one because I can't risk going over the jumps, because I can't always get it stopped on the landing. In fact, I can very rarely. You can occasionally get away with it. I did get away with it sometimes, but so many times there were mistakes, or you just got carried away and I couldn't get it stopped. in time for the next corner. So you'll see me taking all of the alternate routes. I did get it wrong through here, and this is where things started to fall apart. I tried to take the alternate route down there, but I need to be going a lot slower. Again, I managed to save it. That's quite a good way of saving it. I almost forgot the turning down here, and now things are starting to go a little bit wrong. I have to take the third alternate route, which is in between the two bike paths, but I got lucky and I managed to get it stopped. There's that bit of luck that you kind of needed with this bike, and then it's around the final corner, and the bike has crossed the line, and oh god, that wasn't much fun. I don't look for. I'm like a few people I've seen were wanting me to have a go with the Sanchez down the mountain. I'm not entirely sure that would be fun. I think that would take quite a while. Anyway, it is on to the descent times, and we have a new leader. Trevors Truck did a really rather impressive time, a 123.86. Yeah, there we go, it's a Bodie, that's what it is. Yeah, that's a damn fast time. Michael's Tailgater at 124.4. Franklin's Buffalo at 28.3, very, very similar time to the Sultan, and Franklin's Bike, the Bagger, at 129.6. I think the bike could be quickest if you got an absolutely sort of perfect run, clean run without it going in the air, because that thing has so much grip through the corners, but you have to be so cautious over any sort of bumps. Trevors Truck, that's a very good time. I'm not surprised that it went well. I'm surprised that it's got such a big lead. And the Tailgater, again, that's another very, very good time for that car, which I'm glad. I do like the Tailgaters. They are quite nice cars. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Next week, we will be doing the beach bum cars. So we will have the buggy that could well be a new contender for the top spot. And then is it a Kalahari, I think? And there's a van that will be in that one. So yeah, I think the buggy will stand a good chance of going towards the top of that leaderboard. However, if you have other vehicles you would like to see me test after them, then please do leave them in the comment section, or if that's all uselessly broken, on our forums, and I'll have a look through, and the most popular or my favourites will be in a video at some point. However, until next time, goodbye.